Welcome to episode 61 of the Search with Candour podcast, recorded on Friday the 15th of May 2020. My name is Maret Reutelingsperger, and today we're going to be talking about optimizing internal links and content structure. So earlier in the week, I did a session with Authoritas. I joined in on one of their Tea Time SEO sessions, which they're doing all throughout the week. They've got loads signed up and they're getting groups of people together to talk about various SEO subjects, short, sharp tips, and opening up Q&A. So I did a session earlier this week with Maret from Mobe Digital and Mike from Blue Array, and we spoke about internal linking and content structure. It was a really great chat with those guys. There's some brilliant questions at the end. So I just want to share this recording with you. You can also get the video of this if you want to see it, because there's a few kind of diagrams that go along with the talk, and you can see them at search.withcandour.co.uk, and make sure you check out the other Authoritas Tea Time sessions.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming today to the Authoritas Tea Time SEO. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, and I'm joined here also by Carrie Shepherd from Authoritas. I hope everyone's brought their tea and cake today. So, as you may be aware, Tea Time SEO is a way. Great, you have, perfect. Is just an opportunity for everyone just to take that break, connect with others, and also learn something new. So we've been running for this for about 7 weeks now, and we're really pleased to have today with us 3 great speakers talking about something that we've had quite a lot of interest in: internal linking and content structure. Hi, Kirsten and Antoine and Azim, Fateh, Authoritas, Anna, Lawrence. Thank you all for joining. We will have some questions at the end. Carol will take the Q&A from everyone, so please feel free to write any questions and chats in there. So thank you very much for our speakers for coming on today, Mark, Maret, and Mike. And without further ado, I will pass over to them to introduce them and also share their tips.
Thank you. So my name's Mark, and I've been doing SEO for about 16 years now, and started with my own kind of affiliate ad sites and getting them to rank. Currently, I'm digital marketing director at an agency called Candour. I've been agency side for 13 lovely, blissful, stress-free years now. I also, apart from client work, really like building SEO tools. So at the moment, hopefully you've seen alsoask.com is ours, and Aardvark SEO is a SEO plugin for a content management system called Stepney. I also organize a local SEO meetup here, and we have our own SEO podcast, like so many people now as well, called Search with Candour. And I was asked to add a fun fact to this slide, and the only thing I really could think of, which is really different from SEO, is I'm a master scuba diver trainer, so I've got about 1,000 hours now underwater.
Amazing. That is 1,000 hours underwater. That is fantastic. I actually have a question. How many did you become in World Cup SEO tools?
Yeah, I think we're through to the final. Only because I hate losing, and I put a link on the homepage of the tool for people to go and vote, which I don't think Google have done in their search console. Last time I logged in, I didn't see a link for them to
no,
go
I've
and vote.
not seen it in search console. That's funny. Losing out, suckers. Cool. So, hi, my name is Maret. I am the founder of Mobe Digital, an inbound marketing and SEO consultancy. My background in digital marketing is both as an in-house marketer and at digital agencies, which means that I can empathize with sort of all sides of marketing. I love telling a brand story, and as a fun fact, which kind of, it was a surprise addition, and this morning I've been for a run. So it seemed appropriate to add my fun fact as I run a lot, which I hate all the way through, until I'm done and the endorphins kick in. And that's me.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. Great to be involved in this. My name is Mike, and I guess similar to Mark, I've been in the industry for longer than I want to admit, but also cut my teeth on a network of my own sites before that kind of grew into an agency. And I'm now have joined the team at Blue Array, which is really exciting, really great things going on at Blue Array. SEO director there, have strategic oversight of a bunch of the big brands within the agency. So my fun fact, I think when I started at Blue Array, I put on my profile that I was planning to climb Kilimanjaro. And yeah, with lockdown, I think I'm hankering for some open spaces. So that's definitely going to happen, hopefully pretty soon.
Cool. So I'll kick off. I've just got 2 tips really I want to share about internal linking and content structure, which is first is about distinguishing and separating your evergreen content from your news content. So evergreen content being the kind of content that stays relevant for hopefully forever, but at least kind of a long time, whereas your news content is obviously more important when it is new because it's news. And secondly, about consistent and planned approaches when it comes to internal anchor text. So I'd like to just sum it up by saying the blog is normally where evergreen content goes to die. And by this, I mean, I've worked with a lot of clients over the years where the approach just seems to be they have their kind of website, and when they make quote unquote content, it goes on to the blog. So if we use an example, like we have an e-commerce site, say it's like a car site selling car parts, accessories, and we want to write an article which we would consider to be evergreen, something like how to de-ice your car. So it's evergreen because fundamentally what you do to de-ice a car hopefully shouldn't change over the years. And we put that on our blog, and it ranks well maybe for a few weeks or months. And what you'll tend to see is over an amount of time, those rankings may drop. And this is due normally to the content kind of falling down into this deep rabbit hole of the blog. So in a couple of years' time, if you want to read that article, you have to sort of go to the blog, to the archives, to 2020 March, and then through the pagination to find it. And as you can imagine, even as a user, that experience sucks because you're not going to find that content in any logical way going through it. And the same applies when you think about how search engines are working, whether you're thinking about random surfer models or reasonable surfer models. Search engines are going to think that page itself is less important because it's buried down. It's got links from pages that aren't quite as important themselves. So that's one kind of reason why that happens. And I think it also leads into this fact where people update content so it comes back onto their homepage and it starts ranking again. So maybe they think, oh, it's fresh content, it was ranking, when actually it was more to do with where it was linked from on the site. So the point is that not all content's time sensitive. So I always like to make this split in types of content. So time sensitive content, stuff like, if you had special deals for Black Friday, you've got new product released, you open a new premises, those things people care about when they're new, and after a year they probably don't care about so much. Your evergreen is normally your other type of content, so like guides to de-icing car, what's the safe stopping distance, best car security systems. All those things are things we would hope to rank for in the long term. So another kind of structure we can use, which I think both Maret and Mike are going to talk about in a bit more detail, is this pillar or hub page approach, which is rather than kind of just chucking everything on the blog, you have a static section on your site that kind of curates where this content is linked to from. And the advantage here is a few fold. So firstly, from a kind of link point of view, you're never more than a couple of clicks away from the homepage. But secondly, if we look at that kind of pillar page that I've suggested there, which would be something like a complete car maintenance guide, that in itself, in terms of search intent, is quite broad. So if someone's searching for a car maintenance guide, there's a whole bunch of things they could be searching for. So you wouldn't expect maybe one small article to have the answer. So building that kind of longer resource as well will attract more links, which again puts you a single kind of click away in terms of that content. So this structure really, really works. There are ways around it without restructuring your whole site. A good time to think about this as well is when you're doing site migrations. Really great time to fix this problem. And then site migrations can become more than just kind of a damage mitigation exercise, and can become an opportunity to get better rankings. So steps to clean up this kind of content is categorize it into time sensitive or evergreen, group the evergreen stuff together in clusters, which Maret and Mike will talk a bit more about, move back up your search demand curve to intent that's broader for what you should be writing about for your pillar pages. And if you don't have the time or resource to build pillar pages, you can kind of get away with a nicely organized category page, but it won't work as well because you'll probably get less links. So that's kind of tip 1. Tip 2 is about anchor text on internal links. So a whole bunch of points about this. And hopefully they'll come up on the slide in a second. Thank you. Good anchor text is obviously helpful to your users. So again, all of these tips are kind of thinking about your users as well. It's an accessibility thing, you know, for when a user looks at a link, they don't have to read the context around it to know where they're going. Obviously, we had a Penguin update and a long while ago, and that put a lot of fear into people about external backlinks and anchor text. And Google have told us, you know, a lot of times now that we don't need to worry about over-optimizing our internal anchor text. You know, descriptive internal anchor text is good. It's helpful to users. It's helpful to search engines. It's really often missed in site briefs when we're building new sites and with content teams, like telling them, you know, giving them a best practice for what they should be using in terms of anchor text. And the really cool thing about it is you can move the needle quickly on big sites. Great way to do that is Sitebulb released a newish feature called Link Explorer, which you go on to the next slide. It will show you kind of a demo of it working, and it will basically, once it's crawled your site, show you all of the different URLs and all of the anchor text that goes to them. So this is kind of what it looks like if you haven't used it before. And if we go on one more, we'll see there's 2 specific things I like to do with this. One is you can search by target URL. So it might be one of your kind of pillar pages or bit of evergreen content that you want to rank. And you can see all of your internal links to that URL and, really importantly, what anchor text you're using to make sure that you're using descriptive anchor text. The second check you can do is kind of the other way around, which is where you can search for a specific anchor text and then see where they're linking. So you catch both ways. So there's a whole kind of list of checks that I like to go through with this anchor text. The first one being just making sure, I've got a list on the next slide. If we move on, thank you. Back forward. One more, thank you. So have an immediate plan to tackle like the click here type of anchor text, because that's something I see on basically all sites. Prioritizing kind of systematic or site-wide occurrences of bad anchor text. So normally stuff in like navigation menus, reviewing anchor text to your key pages, spot checking anchor text like I just showed you in the second example with Sitebulb, and making sure all of this kind of doesn't happen again after you fixed it, which is going back to the content team and actually briefing them about, okay, if we're talking about this, this is where we want to link to, and kind of keeping a main spreadsheet of all of that. So they're my 2 kind of flown through tips. And I think we're over to Maret now to talk a bit more about hub and pillar pages.
Yeah, so I thought I'd share some thoughts on internal linking. I kind of want to take it a step back first to kind of talk through why it's a good idea. And then secondly, why topic clusters or hub pages are great and you should definitely use them. So if we go to the next page, there's 2 main things to keep in mind with internal linking. So the first one is it shows the relationship between content, which is great for not just you know, the old Google, but also for users. So for example, if you're reading Mark's article about de-icing your car, then the reader might be interested in other forms of maintenance they can do on the car themselves. So rather than just linking to the main pillar page or the hub page, actually it's a good idea to have an organic progression as to other types of maintenance someone might want to do on their car after they've read this article. And the second one is it helps to internally share the link equity of a website. So that kind of means that if a page does well in search results, that will also increase the search visibility for other pages that it's linking to as a result. So like a great internal linking structure can help your website become like a force majeure, and you won't be able to stop it in the search results as the pages help each other for increased search visibility. And that's also why, kind of in line with what Mark just said, it is important to regularly audit the internal links on your website to ensure they are still pointing to live and relevant URLs and articles. Like Mark said, SiteBulb makes your life very easy in that way. So topic cluster, wait a minute, I got it wrong. Topic clusters are not, no, they're not shit. No, topic clusters are the shit. Or maybe topic clusters are the bomb. Maybe that's what we'll go for. A topic cluster is basically a group of interlinked pages on a website which talk about different areas within the same topic. So if I show you that visually, you will see a pillar page at the center, and then all these nice little cluster pages, cluster content around it. So this is what it looks like in a sort of perfect little pretty world, but in actual fact, it looks more like this. So cluster pages can also link between each other, essentially. Now, why are they so great? Especially, they've become more important, especially since some of Google's updates, because those updates have seen significant changes in search results as Google understands natural language better and really seeks out those websites with authority in that field or industry. So creating topic clusters helps search engines understand that your business or you are an authority in that field. So essentially what you want to do is write really great content for your users and fulfill the intent that they are seeking, which will help your website rank higher and also help users get everything they need from your website. And I think Mike will go into this even deeper. So over to him.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, really great points. Completely agree with all of that. And yeah, I guess my first tip, I just wanted to expand a little bit on those hub pages or pillar pages and how we can use all of the content, or certainly all of the relevant content on our site to support those pages. And then the last two tips I'll go through quickly are kind of finding untapped opportunities for internal links on your site, and then the last one being the mighty breadcrumb. So I guess as an overview, really to reiterate, what we're trying to do here is obviously help user navigate through the site easily, but also importantly, we want to help the flow of PageRank through our site. And obviously PageRank is still a really core metric for Google. And whilst it's calculated across the web, people become obsessed with external links and often forget the fact that that they apply just as much to internal links. I think the one difference that's so important is that we are actually in complete control of our internal links. So it's really important that we make sure we're using them. So yeah, just to expand a little bit on Maret's point about these hub pages, I think you've seen a very similar diagram here. But the bit I want to note is how some of the even more peripheral content can also help support this as long as it's relevant. So it's really looking into things like your blog articles, your news sections, how-to guides, etc. And what we're really doing is just trying to find that content that remains relevant for the user to help support us up through that architecture. Now we're normally pretty good at the vertical linking, so up, top down. But if you go on to the next slide, we'll see that these horizontal links become super important as they can go back up to that hub page. So as an agency, we've seen that this can bear some really pretty juicy fruit. Just one example of this is a client that was kind of languishing on page 5 for a really strong search term, life insurance. So on the next slide, you can see that that's 100,000 average search volume a month. So really important search term for them. And, you know, if we could get them onto page 1, that would be hugely valuable. highly competitive, of course, as well. So, they were a household brand, so it wasn't a case that we needed to look for too many external links. We already knew that the PageRank existed. It was the internal linking structures that were kind of hindering the site. So just as a broad overview, what we took on for those guys was we consolidated all of the appropriate content into that one really important hub page, making sure that we weren't competing within the architecture between the strong top page, and then adding really robust internal linking structures from those related pages, as Maret was pointing out. But then also expanding on that and introducing new informational content, so to plug some of the gaps. And this becomes really important when you think about how Google looks at your content and judges your content, because we really want to make sure that we're including all the entities that you'd expect to see within that particular topic. So whether it's on page or whether it's through relationships to other pieces of content. So yeah, that really produced some great results. We did move very quickly from page 5 to page 1. So yeah, needless to say, it was a success story, but amazing to see what these linking strategies can do just with a little bit of improvement. Of course, we need to remember that relevance is important here. We can have different silos within the site, but as long as we're applying the same strategy within each one of those, it can bring some really great results. Some quick ways of getting some of that relevant content out of the site. Obviously, you can use your internal site search. Search Console is great. You can get really crafty with Screaming Frog and other crawling softwares. But actually, the site command, good old site command, is your friend, and it can be quite easy to just pick out relevant, even some of that buried content, as Mark says. That can still be very valuable. Cool. So then jumping ahead, it moves quite nicely onto how we identify the most valuable pages within our site. So, of course, we're getting a bunch of external links pointing to various spaces on the site. Some of those pages can be actually quite untapped. We don't really know that they're getting as many links as they are. So utilizing a tool like Majestic or other backlink analysis tools can really help. So just putting your domain into that and ordering, by the number of by the pages to see, which ones are getting the highest links. And some of those hidden gems within that space can be things like your branch finder or store pages. Of course, for lots of reasons, they get a lot of links, but we don't necessarily always do a very good job of linking back up through the hierarchy from those. And that can be really useful for a user. If a user lands on that page, to know that the product's available on the excuse me, on the site. So other pages that are great, like things like delivery info, help pages, affiliate programs tend to get a lot of links, and then forgotten resources, old PR pieces that have been done, etc. So make sure you're utilizing every page of your site, basically. Cool. And then finally, a little word on the good old breadcrumb. This is a bit of a bugbear for me. I think too often decisions are made to either limit the functionality of a breadcrumb or to remove it completely. For me, it's a really important SEO linking element. It's really handy to link up and down through our structures, but also we've got full control over the anchor text, or we should have, if they customizable as they should be. And of course, they're at the top of the page, and we know Google likes to weight things higher up the page. So very important from an SEO perspective, and I do think that from a user perspective, to know where you sit within a site is hugely valuable. Of course, the argument is made that it becomes intrusive on a mobile experience, but I think in a mobile first world, we really got to think about that decision. And as you can see in this example, they can look really good as long as we're keeping the anchor text concise and font sizes down to a minimum, etc. So yeah, quick fire 3 tips. There you go.
That was great. So many tips. We have so many questions, and we also have a huge amount of live views. We had over 60, I think, at one point, wasn't it, Carrie? Well, I'll pass over to Carrie, and she can answer some of these questions. We'll try and get as many in as possible. Over to you.
Great, thank you, Jo. So the first question we have is from Simon. He says, blog links to evergreen pages get buried in blog pages as they move slowly away from the homepage because of blog list pagination. Is it worth building out blog category and tag pages?
I can have a stab at that if you want.
Based on Mark's tips.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I try and avoid tag pages myself, just because I think, you know, when we've actually conducted with other agencies user experience testing, they just don't seem to be sort of used that much, like whole pages of tags. And I mentioned when I was talking about building kind of these hub or pillar pages, that a kind of a cheaper, quicker, faster alternative is to build a type of category page. I don't see many blog category pages ranking in search for many terms. And that's generally, again, because they're pretty unsatisfying to land on. So what I'm seeing now is, and I've seen quite a few of larger, especially kind of blogs do this, which is they're actually no indexing their actual category pages, and they've basically been replacing them with these hub pages, which is so say, you know, you've got your blog about SEO and you're writing about link building. Rather than have a category page that says link building that just lists all your posts about link building, you then make your kind of hub page that introduces link building as a concept, what's involved in it, and then as you're talking about that, you link off to all of those blog posts yourself. So I think personally that's a better way to keep those like links higher up in the structure. I have seen some other sites, as I say, take this approach where it's a type of category page, but it's a little bit more helpful. But that's the approach I take in terms of building up those category pages, which is, if you've got the resource, start rolling out content that's more helpful to the user, because again, it'll attract links, and try and steer away from, you know, again, things that you yourself don't see Google ranking that much in the wild.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think if you can, it depends on your platform, but if your platform's flexible enough and you can add value to your category pages, then we're doing a very similar thing there, you know, where we're adding some content to that page and we're adding something of genuine value to the user, and those pages become more useful. So I think that's probably a good way to go, but lifting those pages up within the structure is 100% necessary for sure.
Great, thank you. That's really useful.
Sorry, I think it's also good to think about, you know, when you lift something up the site architecture, you're also going to be dropping some other things down. So really be careful of, you know, what you're changing within the structure, and make sure you're not having any impact on existing rankings.
Great, thank you. The next question we have is from Azim from Maret. How would my keyword research fit in with those topic clusters?
Cool, okay. So if you are doing keyword research, and I'm kind of presuming that the people that are watching this will have keyword research as part of their on-page SEO strategy, what you will likely already be doing is categorizing your keyword research, whether that is in different tabs or in drop downs, or however you categorize your keyword research. If I think of my own website, for example, there will be keyword research in a tab which is inbound marketing. There will be one about email marketing and one about SEO as an example. And within each of those tabs, I have actually already found a topic cluster, because there will be different questions about those areas that you want to talk about. So really, the categories of your keyword research are usually a very strong foundation of your topic clusters. And then other than that, I would say keep answering questions. So use the keyword research that you have done, but also ask internal teams, like sales teams will know what is asked of them on the phone regularly. and then make use of, like Mike said, make use of things like Search Console. And I have to do a shout out to Also Asked, which is a great resource to further expand and be more useful to the people on your website, essentially.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question from Charlie for Mark. How do you approach choosing anchor text after you've ordered it through Sitebulb?
Sorry, could you say it again? How do you go about choosing anchor text?
After you've audited it through Sitebulb.
Oh, okay. So that would be based on the keyword research that we've done. And I personally normally go through kind of 3 stages of keyword research, which is I will look at search volumes and competitions to plan out the broad intent high search volume pages, which is kind of deciding what's going into our main menu, for instance. So that's one way we'll decide anchor text, which is what makes sense for users, and taking this approach of trying to target intent rather than keywords. So the part of the job of keyword research is to figure out what information people are trying to find, but figure out the most common ways in which they're asking that. So the most common ways which they're asking it will come through in search volume, which tends to give me the steer on the menu stuff. When it comes to article topics categorization, I tend to use Answer the Public or Google Suggest data, which gives you then again, a slightly broader range of kind of what topics people are interested in. So that normally will help go into the kind of title. And then actually inside the article, that's when I use like our people also ask kind of data. So to give you an example, if we looked at, car maintenance was our kind of navigation term, and then de-icing our car was the article. Also asked would chuck up things like, is it okay to tip boiling water on your windscreen, for instance? And to me, that's all within the same intent of how do I de-ice my car? That's not like its own separate page. So that still comes under that anchor text. So it's just a case of basing it off your keyword research. And again, having that litmus test of does it make sense for the user, of course. So you should be able to look at links and know roughly what you're getting. And the final thing is that when you're auditing anchor text as well, it tends to surface any cannibalization issues you've got. So you'll maybe find that different people in the content team have been linking to different pages with the same anchor text. And at that point, you need to obviously review those pages and again, work out what intent they're answering, if they're the same. And if they're the same, should they be merged, or how do you differentiate them?
Great, thank you. So we've got one question from Andy. What tools do the speakers use to build a picture of their internal link building? He uses Sitebulb and Screaming Frog. And what do they look like? Or what do they look for if they use similar tools?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I do the same. We typically use Sitebulb and Screaming Frog as well. They've got some pretty visualizations within that. I tend to find, depending on the size of the site, these things can become a little bit overwhelming. So it's nice to dig through the actual data and pull that out into sheets, and then you're really looking for the page depth and number of inlinks for these things. So that can be, those tools are great. I don't think there's much else that's needed.
Yeah, like Mike, I enjoy looking at the Sitebulb visualizations, just because it gives you an instant snapshot if things are absolutely wild or if they're kind of roughly how they should be. I used to use Screaming Frog pretty much all the time for this and export it into sheets and build pivot tables. I am really a fan of that new tool that Sitebulb launched, though, because they're kind of modeling how the link equity flows around the site for you as well now. And apart from that, if it's a really big site, I don't use a tool. I just kind of start with looking what's linked in the main menu. It sounds really obvious, but that's a really quick way just to see what you're linking to and what you're not, and what the opportunity is there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the both of you. For me, it's the same Cybald and Screaming Frog, as well as just my eyeballs.
Great. And the last question we have is from Maret. Do you think there is merit in creating a hub of these cluster pages, like a mother hub?
Could you say it again? Sorry.
Yeah. Do you think there is merit in creating a hub of these cluster pages, like a mother hub?
Like a mother hub. It's almost like a category page of category pages, then, isn't it? It's like I don't think I've ever done that or used that myself. Also, thank you for using the word merit in your question to completely throw me off. I think I would personally not go for that, because it's something that you can either use in your navigation. So whether it's areas that you service or services that you offer, I don't think it's something I have seen used. I don't know if Mike and Mark, you agree?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure I fully understand the question. So I'm tapping out.
I like the idea of a mother hub, though. I like just the terms. That sounds great.
Yeah, I like the term as well, for sure.
I think the only time you might want to be doing this is if all of those hubs group into something that's obvious, like an overarching insurance type or whatever that is. Back to that insurance example. So there might be a few examples where that could be valuable. But I think effectively your homepage is the place where you're kind of linking to a lot of these important hubs, and then you're going from there. So I also tend to think we probably don't need any more.
No. However, if you want to put like a Maret hub on your website, I am happy to lend my face for that and any quotes that you need.
That's great. Thank you, guys. I think that's everything we have time for. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. Well,
just
we have a lot of tips and from yourselves, and we have a lot of questions, and that's great. Obviously, we weren't able to answer all of them in today's session. So please connect with Mark, Maret, and Mike to continue the conversation. You have their Twitter details there. We will also be sharing this on Twitter as well afterwards, and LinkedIn. And also, just a note from us, the Authoritas, we're also offering a stimulus package for any sort of startup. If you're looking to take on an SEO platform, we offer some discount for the first 3 months. So this is us from Authoritas. We have a platform here that can help you with basically driving SEO traffic that converts. And for us, we will be continuing the Tea Time SEO tomorrow at 4 p.m. We have Charlotte Ross, Alice Farran, and Martina Wallace here to talk about how much content do you need to rank. So that's us for today. Thank you. Big round of applause to our speakers, Maret, Mike, and Mark, and to all our audience. So this is our biggest turnout to date. Yeah. So please continue the conversation on Twitter and on LinkedIn afterwards and ask those questions. Sorry, we ran out of time. So thank you very much, everyone. We will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that session. If you do want to see the video, you can find it at search.withcandour.co.uk along with a transcript. And we will be back on Monday, the 25th of May, hopefully with some analysis finally of the May 2020 core update.